When most people want to buy a Rolex watch, they often aim for popular models like the Submariner or Daytona, but these are usually hard to get and might even lead to disappointment or ridicule. By the way, when we talk about Rolex availability here, we mean getting a watch from official Rolex stores, not the secondhand market. That's a whole different story where you can find any model right away, but you'll have to pay market prices. To give you a better understanding of which Rolex models are readily accessible without long waiting lists or rejection, let's explore the ones you can actually buy. Let's get started. The first ones are the non-professional models. The Rolex watches that pose the biggest challenge to purchase fall under the professional line, which includes models like the Daytona, GMT Master, Yacht Master, Submariner, Deep Sea, Sea Dweller, Milgauss, and Air King. On the other hand, non-professional Rolex models are generally more accessible because there is less demand for them, and they are typically more widely available. However, it's worth noting that there are non-professional Rolex models that are still quite popular. As a general guideline, though, non-professional Rolex watches are easier to acquire compared to their professional counterparts. So, if you want to buy a Rolex without a long wait, consider exploring models that are not part of the professional lines. The second one is women's Rolex watches. Rolex men's watches are in higher demand compared to women's watches. Typically, women's watches are those with a diameter of less than 36 millimeters. Since 36 millimeters is considered a size suitable for both men and women, these watches are quite popular. For instance, the Datejust 36, especially the 126234 model with a Jubilee bracelet, can be hard to find at Rolex retailers. Generally, it's easy to purchase Rolex ladies' watches, and if a store doesn't have one in stock, they can usually order it for you in a reasonable time frame. However, there are exceptions, like the Oyster Perpetual 31 with colorful dials released in 2020, which might be harder to come by. The third ones are the two-tone gold and steel models. The most popular Rolex watches are typically crafted from stainless steel. In contrast, watches made of both gold and steel are generally more accessible to purchase. However, these gold and steel timepieces may not appeal to everyone and are usually pricier compared to their all-steel counterparts. While there are still some two-tone watches that remain somewhat challenging to acquire, such as the two-tone Submariners, GMT Master 2, or Daytona models. If you explore beyond the professional line, you'll discover a wide range of models that are either readily available or easy to order. Presently, the two-tone Datejust models, particularly the two-tone Datejust 36 and two-tone Datejust 41 versions, are among the most accessible options for men to purchase. The fourth one is the Daydate 36. The Daydate 36 is a Rolex model that you can usually purchase without much hassle from an authorized Rolex dealer. Waiting times, if any, are typically short, and you can even place an order if it's not in stock. Due to the challenges in obtaining professional Rolex models, more people have turned their attention to the Daydate 40. Just a few years ago, finding a Daydate 40 was a breeze with no waiting lists, but nowadays, getting your hands on one has become quite a task. It's not impossible, but it's notably more challenging compared to the Daydate 36. The fifth one is the Rolex Cellini. The Rolex Cellini collection is a model by Rolex that doesn't typically have waiting lists. It's the most accessible Rolex model you can find at a Rolex store, and if they don't have the one you want, they'll probably order it for you. Compared to other Rolex models, the Cellini has always been less popular. So, without a doubt, Cellini watches are the easiest Rolex watches to purchase today. Rolex is renowned for its durable, tough, and versatile watches, but not particularly for dress watches. When people think of luxury dress watches, they usually think of brands like Patek Philippe or Vacheron Constantin. However, if you're a fan of the Cellini collection and want a Rolex dress watch, this is actually good news for you. The sixth ones are models with a lot of diamonds. Most people don't prefer diamonds on their watches. When people want to buy a Rolex, they typically choose models without diamonds because diamonds can make the watch more expensive. In general, if a watch has more diamonds on it, it's usually easier to find. There are some exceptions, but this is a good rule of thumb to remember. So, if you like diamonds on your watch, you'll probably have an easier time finding the one you want. The last ones are some of the full gold professional models. In the past, You could effortlessly purchase any full gold Rolex professional model without any waiting lists, and authorized dealers were delighted when you made a purchase. However, in recent years, the situation has changed significantly. Nowadays, it's surprisingly challenging to acquire almost any Rolex professional model, especially in the Daytona line. Nevertheless, there are still a few full gold professional models that remain relatively accessible. Concurrently, as more and more people encounter waiting lists for full gold models, they are exploring alternative options, leading to increased demand for Rolex models across the spectrum. If you're determined to own a professional Rolex and can't find a stainless steel or two-tone model, consider exploring the available full gold options. These include the Submariner 126618L, Submariner 126618LN, Rolex Yachtmaster 2 in yellow or white gold, and Sky Dweller in full gold. But given its high price, this watch appeals to a relatively niche audience. Additionally, Rolex authorized dealers typically don't receive a large number of Sky Dwellers, so it's uncertain whether they'll have it in stock. However, they can usually place an order for you without any issues. If you want to know which Rolex models you should avoid, watch this other video and don't forget to subscribe.